Yo, what's happening?
Man, you got it going.
What's going on there? You got some high tech stuff.
No, bro, that's you don't know what I just went through to deal with you, bro. I'm at my buddy's house. My electricity done went out in my neighborhood. Yes, I paid my electric bill, and shit, I couldn't get it going. So I'm at my neighbor's crib, but it's good, man. You got a good thing going.
Are you on Wi-Fi or 4G?
4G, unfortunately.
Hopefully it will. It's a little bit blurry. It looks like it's starting to clear up now. So what happened? That's good. That's good now. Yeah, it's clearing up. So what's good out in Perth? What's the COVID restrictions? What are you allowed to do? I hope you haven't been, going out to there's no cafes open or nothing, are there?
No, working from home, man. Working from home. Everybody working from home. So, we got no COVID cases for the last 3-4 days here. So things looking good for us.
Queensland's been strong too.
Yeah, I guess that's an advantage of being the most isolated city in the world is, it didn't really take here.
Well, you're looking good. Life must be good out there in WA. That's some good air out there, right?
Oh, that's why I've been here 30 years, brother.
So I had Cal on before. Cal was funny as hell. Fantastic.
I watched it. He only got to get through 1/3 of what he wanted to.
No. Oh, I know. It's easy. Cal was easy. I just pushed the car and let him go.
That's it. You just turn it on and get out the way.
And then Daryl. So Daryl's just such a baller, man. You know what D-Mac is like.
D-Mac is my number one guy, man. On and off the court, I got so much respect for that man. So it was a pleasure listening to him and just listening to those guys' brains. Getting inside their brains because they got amazing brains.
So let's go. Let's pick up in 1990. You and I arrived in the same season, 1990. We both graduated from college the same year, right? 88, or were you 89?
I'm 88. Then I spent 89. I went back, got my degree at OU. Then I came out here in 90.
All right. So we're the same boat. And forever, we're probably going to be, as long as basketball in Australia goes, you and I are going to be attached in some way as being rivals. You went on to win 4 championships. I went on to win none, unfortunately. You guys got the better of us in 1990, and I just talked to Cal, and that brought up some real raw emotions, Rick.
Yeah.
30 years later.
Man, it's still raw. Thinking about it, talking about it, still raw. You and I are the reasons they started bringing point guards out here because, you and I came, and then we just took our teams both straight to the grand finals, and we were going against, these, no disrespect, but, we were going against these Australian guards and, whatever. So, then all of a sudden the Andre LaFleur's popped up, the Butch Hayes' popped up, the Doug Overton's popped up, so Adonis Jordan popped up. So you and I started that trend because before us it was common practice to bring out big men as the imports, and you don't really invest that type of money in guards. So the Wildcats and the Bullets were a little bit ahead of that curve. And, and then we got here, and then, they started understanding how important it is to have, someone steering that ship.
How much money did you sign for in that first year, Rick? I'll tell you mine first. I did the same thing to Daryl. Daryl told me in 1994, his first contract here was for $40,000. In 1990, my first year with the Bullets, I signed for $35,000 a car, and they paid my rent.
You got me beat, brother.
What did you sign for?
30. I signed for 30. I signed for 30, a car, and a crib. Yeah, and an apartment. And then I later found out.
Did you have bonus?
I did have bonuses. I had no, I did not. Because I signed a 2-year contract for 30 and 35. And after the first year, I went back and I said, hey, man, you know, we got to do something about this, because Jeff Allen, who did not even play in the grand final, the second import, was on 70 US, you know. So I'm like,
that's
yes,
almost 4 times more than what you were making.
Tax free. So I'm like, yeah.
No disrespect to Jeff, but he really didn't do much that championship year.
No disrespect to Jeff at all. He had a great career at St. John's. Unfortunately, he tore his Achilles when he was here with the Wildcats. But, you know, I spent, you know, and 30 grand in 1990. And, you know, I can remember the first month going back to the Wildcats asking for a prepayment for my second payment to pay my phone bill, because my phone bill was bigger than my check.
Oh, wait a minute, though. Cal says you're not telling the truth.
About what? Cal, the one, didn't tell the truth. Cal didn't tell the truth about that one-on-one game. And that's why he said from the beginning, Ricky may think different. Because, and after I talk about this, I got a beef with you talking about my Cowboys like that. You can have Jason Garrett, by the way.
Okay. Oh, we got a lot. Okay, go. Great.
You can have that. But anyway, Cal, same story. Doc Atkins, you know, should be in the Hall of Fame, as all of you guys have said. So Doc Atkins flew me out there. He did call a timeout because Cal was up 3-0. You know, I'm looking at this guy, man. He's 38. He got a cul-de-sac. You know, I'm going, you know, who is this guy? He's shaking and baking, bang, shaking and baking, bang, jab step, bang, up 3-0. Right?
Because Cal had a quick release jumper, right?
Quick release and shake and bake. Get you off, pull back, hit it. Get you off, pull back, hesitate, then go. You know, so I'm like, whew. Now, I didn't think, you know, the way the guy was looking, that he had all of that. So kind of like Tad Duffelmeyer. You know, Tad gave me 50 because I didn't respect the way he looked. But so Cal comes out. He's up 3-0. And then Dave Atkins did call a timeout. We were in the gym all by ourselves. Then I beat Cal 11-3. He was up 11. He was up 3-0. He said, Dave Atkins said, do you realize you're playing for a fucking job? I went, a job? You know, boom. Locked in, 11-3, 11-0, 11-1. Okay? Bang. Cal, it's in his book. Next morning, he did wake me up. And I said, man, this man ain't going to let me go until he wins. So he won that game. Kyle, that's why you got that game, bro.
Yeah, you figured you had done enough on the front end to convince him that you could hoop. You just threw him a bone at the end.
There you go. There you go. He felt it. He felt it. But no, I really appreciate what Cal did. He threw me a lifeline, man, because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here. So he saw something in me, and you know, I did have another couple of options, but you know, I just liked what that man represented, and you know, I just wanted to be a part of what he told me all about with Perth. And then when I arrived, well, then you know, I knew this was the place for me.
In our interactions with different people, it's good to learn from them. And one of the things that's always stood with me about Cal is his willingness to take time to help you out or just to talk to you. Because I remember in '90, in the middle of the season at the All-Star game out in Perth, he came and talked to me about different things. And it was, you know, some of those things stuck with me for 30 years. And I think what I learned was the importance of mentoring and understanding and listening to people and the impact that you can have on a younger player. Even though at 23, we don't realize we're young and we don't know what the fuck is going on.
Yeah. No, Cal will give you the shirt off his back, you know. That's just the type of guy he is, you know. He's always on to me about, you know, you need to do more. You need to do more for the community. You need to do more for us, you know, African Americans in Australia. And, you know, he's a real role model in that way because he had to deal with things that players today don't have to deal with when it comes to racial issues and those sort of things. So, you know, those trailblazers and people like Cal don't really get enough respect for, you know, the things that they had to deal with, not only on the court, but off the court.
Yeah. So 1990, Rick, we faced each other in the grand final. From a
I
player's
didn't like you,
perspective,
Derek.
you
I
didn't
didn't
like
like
me.
you. I
Why?
did not like you at all. Because you came to Perth and you played in the All-Star game, and I had to sit there and watch you play in my stadium, and I didn't make the All-Star team. Then you made NBL Grand Final. Then you made Most Valuable Player of the league. And then you had the Tina Arena. I'm like, this dude got everything. How the hell? I'm sitting here over here in Perth, and I got nothing. I'm dealing with dramas. I'm dealing with people going to jail. I'm dealing with coaches getting fired. I'm dealing with player revolts. We had a practice one day, this 1990, we had a practice, and the guys weren't happy that Cal was selected coach. So we had a team meeting, and in the team meeting, they had a players-only team meeting. They kicked Cal out. The players kicked Cal out. He had just became coach. And the players said, we're not happy with this decision. So they all signed a petition. They all signed a petition to say, we ain't happy. We ain't happy with Cal being the coach. And they sent it and gave it to the owners. Well, they put that piece of paper in front of me, and I said, I'm not signing this paper. I'm not signing this. This man just gave me a job 2 months ago, and y'all want me to sign something saying that we don't want him? So I remember because I had just come out of Utah Jazz, and I got cut by Utah. And I felt like I wasn't a man. I felt like I was being one of them rookies that run after the ball and do this and do that. And I said, if I ever get another opportunity, I'm going to be a man. And if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. And when that paper was coming around to me, I said, I'm not signing that. I'm not signing that shit. So I didn't sign it. So we had real division. We had real divisions in 1990. The day before our last game, if we didn't win, we weren't going to make the playoffs. And I actually got into a fight with one of the players. And so in 1990, that was it finished beautifully. I obviously ended up winning grand final MVP after you had cleaned up everything throughout the, year.
Yeah.
And came into Perth in my house and won, probably All-Star game MVP, league
Did
MVP.
I win it? Yeah, I did win MVP that year, I think, of the All-Star game.
Yeah, so you was rolling. So man, you was my public enemy number one. So I was jealous. And we ended up winning, worked out. We won, we won that last game. We ended up tied for sixth because only 6 teams made the playoffs then. We finished 5th on the tiebreaker, but we had the same record as the whoever the 6th place team was. And then we ended up, making our way to the grand final and winning it. And they tore up that $30,000 contract. And then they gave me another one.
Now, I remember one play I think it was in the first half of game 3. Shot clock's running down. Somehow you find yourself in front of Perth's bench. Shot clock's running down. You turn and fire and make the 3, like an off balance. And I'm like, when you made that, I'm like, oh, fuck.
Yep. I remember
the play.
I remember that play. I do remember that play, and I was
weak side. I was on the other side, so I saw it all coming. I think Greg Fox was checking you, and I was like, fuck, that's going in.
Yeah, I do remember that play. I've only hit one game winner in my life, like a buzzer game winner, and it was in high school, and it was that exact same shot. So as I was doing it, it was something that, I have one of those memories where, back then I could remember every play that I'd ever had. And that's why I felt like I was pretty good, because whatever situation that was, I would never forget it. And I might screw it up the first time, but I wasn't going to screw it up again. So that play, I knew exactly what I was about to do because I had executed it in a big moment before. So I was, lucky enough to execute it, zone in, lock in, and knock it down.
And it's amazing how I can remember, I remember James's dunk on the baseline in the second half. I remember Tiny had one, and I can still remember the sound that the ball makes when it thunders through, and it's just like your heart just fucking sinks.
Do you know what I remember? I remember what Cal was talking about, how, you know, I mean, it was so hard to stop you because, I mean, and it was frustrating because, you know, I stopped you once, you pass to go right back and get it, then I got to stop you again, you know, and that was really hard. And it was almost, okay, Derek gonna get his 30. But Leroy was our guy. Leroy is who we said, okay, we're gonna target Leroy. So if we didn't get, this was the plan, if 1990 grand final, if game 3, if we did not get a fast break, we would slow it down, we would run a play, and whoever Leroy was guarding, we would just run him off screens for about 5 seconds, 6 seconds, popping, running across screens, popping, running across screens, popping, running across screens, popping. Then we'd run the play because we felt like Leroy was a veteran at that time. And if we wore him down, well, then we'd have a real chance to win the game. And that's when, like Cal was saying earlier, you saw Leroy asking to come out because, you know, we really targeted Leroy because we felt you were going to get yours, but that's the guy at that stage in his career we felt like we could contain.
And tell the story about after game 2 in the change room, after we blew you guys out up here in Brisbane, and we've got game 3 coming up. You guys had a team meeting after game 2?
Man, we sat in that locker room for about an hour, and we didn't get to have any of that beer that used to be around in the locker room back then that you were talking about with Cal because we had just got our ass whooped like that. But Kerry Stokes, who was our owner, and, you know, hell of a businessman, hell of a guy, you know, and really, really instrumental in, you know, making sure we had everything we needed to succeed, you know. But Kerry came in that locker room, and he said, if you're right-handed, raise your right hand. And looked at me and said, if you left-handed, raise your left hand. He said, slap yourselves in the face. Harder. No, harder. Bam. So we in there slapping the shit out of ourselves, right? So then Kerry said, that's what happened to you tonight. Better not happen in game 3. Walked out.
If he did that nowadays, it would be national news.
Well,
you know, but it got it done. I'd rather do that and have the title. I would have rather have done that. And probably right now, as a 53-year-old, I would have done worse back then now to get that damn title.
Yeah, no, this man died for, I mean, this man would have died for us. I mean, that's how passionate this guy was. I mean, he wanted to see, he is a through and through West Australian guy, right? Kerry Stokes is. So he wanted Western Australia to experience what it felt like to win a national championship because we'd never won a national championship before. West Australia had never won any sort of national championship. The West Coast Eagles had just come into the league, so they were kind of easy beats. But in saying that, 2 years later, they did win a grand final. But we were the first team to win a national championship in Western Australia. So when we flew back on that plane from Brisbane, they weren't going to allow the championship trophy on the, you know, back because that's the big damn trophy.
Big trophy.
So I remember being at the airport and they weren't going to allow the trophy on the plane. Kerry bought a first class ticket for the trophy. And they sat that trophy and put the seatbelt on that trophy in first class while we flew back to Perth. And, you know, we got back to Perth. There was 10,000 fans at the airport when we arrived, like we were the Beatles. It was an amazing time.
And so you guys go back to back. You were a part of 4 NBL teams. We had a brief chat earlier. So you won 90, 91, 95, and 2000. In my opinion, I think the 2000 team is one of the greatest. I think it's one of the top 3 or 4 teams of all time. But then today, you think that the 95 team may have been better. Let's talk about this.
I do. And the reason I'm saying that is that year we won what I call the Triple Crown. We
95.
won the minor premiership. We won the minor premiership. We won the, there was a preseason tournament called the Kmart Classic.
Yep.
Back then. So 1995, we won the Kmart Classic. We won the minor premiership. And we also won the championship. Now, it was funny. Both of us, North Melbourne and us flew to the game. Arrived at the game, and the winner had an 8 o'clock flight to London. The winner. So I see D-Mac and them boys walking into the locker room with their bags packed before game 3, like they about to go to the damn London, right? I'm going, I be damned. And James Crawford damn sure said, I be damned. But then we went on to go represent Australia in the McDonald's Championships in 1995, and we beat Real Madrid, which was representing the European League back then. So, and the European League is respected as the second most toughest league in the world behind the NBA. So for us to go over there and beat Real Madrid was something that I thought people don't really acknowledge as much as they would have if we were from, say, Melbourne or Sydney.
Oh, okay.
Mm.
So you think there's been a long time bias? I think it's really biased right now towards Melbourne. It's returned with this new regime taking over. But you think that all along there's been a Victorian Sydney bias, even probably Brisbane, because Brisbane's been such a strong program, you know.
I wouldn't say it's a bias. I think it's a need for them to do well, for the sport of basketball to do well. So I think the powers to be really, really would like to see them do well. And sometimes because of that, there becomes an unconscious bias. And I think there is an unconscious bias towards those teams. I mean, it's kind of like my Dallas Cowboys. You know, we need the Cowboys, and the league want the Dallas Cowboys to do well. We haven't done shit in 20 years, but we're still front and center in front of everybody because football is big down south, and you need the Cowboys to do well. So I think, the Melbourne teams and the Sydney teams are the same way. We really need those teams to do well for the sport of basketball to do well. So that's why I think if, the Wildcats were in Melbourne or if the Wildcats were in Sydney, this thing would be off the chain. And it is off the chain over here in Perth. I mean, we don't get the respect. We still don't get that. I mean, people don't realize, come on, 30 years, finals in a row, D-Ruck. Come on, man. I mean, this is the most successful, amazing franchise, from the fans to the players to the management. It's the best that I've ever seen as a sportsman. I'm sorry.
Now, what about, let's talk about the 95 roster. So who was on that team? Then we're going to jump to the 2000 team. So give us a rundown in 95.
95, we had, we had Aaron Trahair, a rookie, young fella, starting at the point.
Second year.
Anthony Stewart was starting, but Adelaide had Mike Dunlap, and we played them in the semifinals. And Mike Dunlap used to press, and then press. Mm-hmm. So they were wearing me down. And Stewie wasn't much of a ball handler. So what Coach Hurley did was we started starting Aaron Trahair, who had never started for the whole season. We started starting Aaron. We began starting Aaron in that Adelaide series, which was the semifinals, just to take a bit of pressure off of me because they were wearing us down. But, we had the legends. We had Andrew Blahoff. We had Scott Fisher. We had James Crawford. We had a young Martin Catalini. And we had a very good Anthony Stewart now coming off the bench. So, and I think all of us, if we weren't in our prime, we were damn near, So,
no, you weren't in your prime yet. You were right. You were probably 2 years into your prime.
Yeah. I was about 80, 85%. But if you look at Vlahoff, definitely in his prime. Fisher, definitely in his prime. And then Crawford, just like I was ascending, about 80, 85% that way, he was descending, but 80, 85% still too. So I just think that team for me, I'm probably a bit more partial to that team.
Wow. So I look at 2000. You got yourself, James Harvey, Stephen Black, Vlahoff, Paul Rogers, Scott Fisher, Marcus Timmons.
Great team. Bringing Marcus in. Don't sleep on 1991 team, by the way, because 1991 team was 22-4, and to me, that was a really dominant team. But while we're talking about 2000, great team.
Marcus was very ahead of. Marcus was so multi-dimensional, man. I thought the way he played that year, I thought his play gave y'all a wild card, and that's why I believe, because you and Blauhoff, you guys were just playing at an elite level, PR, playing at an elite level. But then all of a sudden to have Marcus come in there, and he's one of the best imports in the game.
Yeah.
That just takes y'all to another level, I felt, in terms of NBL legacy.
Yeah, and I mean, you felt both of those teams, so I respect your opinion, and you know, you actually went against both of those teams. So you know, hearing it from you, as someone that went against it, you know, probably has even a better idea than me as someone that's actually in it.
And we pushed y'all in 2002 at West Sydney.
Sorry?
We pushed you, and when I was at West Sydney in 2000, the year you guys won it, we really pushed you guys. I thought we could have won that series.
And that's probably when you were in your prime. Because I mean, you were great all the way through. But no, that you guys definitely pushed us, and you know, that just toughened us up for what we were about to face. But you guys were really tough because, you know, Simon Dwight was so, you know, oh man, he was just a freak. And then none of you guys were kind of traditional players, you know, it was just, but really great. And whereas, and you guys were sort of the way the league and the way the game was progressing. I mean, you were a freaking specialist. I mean, you could shoot that damn ball. Simon Dwight played sort of the way the game was progressing, like that pop-out big man four. So for me, I was having a hard time figuring that out at that time because I was a pure point, and I thought like a pure point. And so for me, that was a different mindset. So that's why you guys were real tough for me. And it, you know, luckily we got through that, but you guys were tough.
Let's talk about Andrew Blauhoff. What was it like to play with him? I mean, just probably one of the strongest dudes that's been in this competition, and strong will too, right, Rick?
Pound for pound, strongest man I've ever been around. And,
really?
You know, I've been around, pound for pound, strongest man I've ever been around. He was my big brother. He was my big brother on the court. The most intelligent player I ever played with as well. I mean, Drew was the ultimate competitor. He, you know, because everybody used to say, cut the head off the chook, you know. So I was the head. So, you know, some teams had a strategy because back then you could just knock, you know, you can knock shit out of people. So, you know, strategy was let me go in there the first couple plays because I'm always penetrating, causing havoc. Let me go in there a couple plays, knock shit out of him, soften him up. So if anybody hit me, rest assured Andrew Blauhoff was about to pay them back double. And I can remember one time there was this guy that played with the Titans, a little point guard. I can't remember his name, but man, Andrew gave this dude a concussion. It was one of those half court picks where they pick you up full, and the big guy's there at half court waiting, and his big man defender's not there to warn him. And I was going about 160 kilometers an hour. He ran into Andrew. That was it. He was concussed. And I mean, you could do that back then. So no, Andrew was just you know, one of the most unbelievable teammates. And if I had to pick somebody, you know, I'd probably pick him to be on my team first.
How do you buy into all of this about Bryce Cotton? And whoa, hold on, let's talk about Bryce before we get into it, dude. Is it like are they gonna lower the state flag over there?
It's a sad day. You know, I'll believe it when I see it. You know, I'll believe it when the first game comes back and then he's not there. But you know, I don't know a whole lot about it. I just, you know, it is what it is. I mean, Wildcats are bigger than Ricky Grace. The Wildcats are bigger than Bryce Cotton. But man, it'll be sad if we don't get to enjoy this man on our shores. You know, we were talking about the Dallas Cowboys earlier. As a kid, I can remember crying at halftime when they were playing the Pittsburgh Steelers in the Super Bowl. So I turned it off. And then I turned it back on in the fourth quarter, and Cowboys were winning. And then when I started watching, the Cowboys lost the Super Bowl. And I swore that I made them lose that game. I knew I shouldn't have turned that TV back on, right? I was, as a kid, that's the joy or the sadness that I have when I have to my favorite team. Bryce, here in Perth, think of all the joy that he has brought all these kids for the last 3.5 years. Every parent, this is a family sport. People take their families to the Wildcats games. When this man comes to play, your family goes home happy.
Happy as hell.
Happy as hell. And entertained at the same damn time. So for me, you know, just what he has brought to Perth, what he has brought to the state of WA is worth whatever bit of money that they cut in half. So I'm disappointed if he does end up leaving. I feel like if there's a will, there's a way. Kerry Stokes sure as hell used to make it happen. So, you know, it'll be sad if this is really true.
And look, you know, the Wildcats still retain his rights. There's no guarantees in terms of what's going to happen with COVID in Europe. Who knows what's going to happen? We don't know what the sporting arena is going to look like over there. But I mean, I can understand him needing to explore his options and make himself available. So we just wait and see. And it's not like he can't come back. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I said I'll believe it when I see it. But hopefully, you know, we find a way to keep that man.
So earlier this year, there was some talk about him being the greatest import. And I've had Bryce on the podcast. I enjoy him more after having him on here and starting to know what type of guy he is. And I just really enjoy it. But there was conversation about him being perhaps the best import of all time. And I was like, no, let's not get carried away. I said, he's not even the #1 Wildcat so far. And I went through and I said, my Wildcats I probably got Bryce around 5. I've still got him behind Damian. I've got him behind Andrew Vlahoff. I've got him behind James. And obviously I have him behind you. Now,
yeah.
He's on a pace to blow y'all all out the water if he keeps this shit up. You know, he plays another 10 years in the league and wins 5 or 6 championships and 3 or 4 more MVPs. Hey, you're the greatest of all time, bro.
Yeah, it's a wrap. I'm enjoying the conversation. I'm not gonna sit up here and say I'm the greatest, and I'll never ever do that. And I've never said that. I appreciate, you know, people saying that, but you know, it's a different era, man. I mean, I won 4 championships under 4 different coaches. You know,
Really? Name the coaches.
Yes, sir. Cal Bruton, Murray Arnold, Adrian Hurley, and Alan Black. So, and I mean, Bryce, what Bryce has done is absolutely incredible. I mean, the chemistry that those boys have, I'm gonna tell you the truth. You know who he reminds me of?
Who?
You. He's a scoring point guard. He runs routes. Your dad ran routes for Cleveland Browns.
Yep.
You know, you ran routes. You know, you got open. You ran routes. And it was hard defending you. I felt like a safety, chasing you. He's the same way. And, you know, so he honestly reminds me of you because, you know, so hard to defend, unstoppable as a scorer. And, you know, I mean, he honestly does remind me of you. And Damian Martin does so much dirty work for the man that it's incredible, you know. So what this guy has done has been absolutely incredible, you know. And hopefully we get to see the longevity of him and his career as a Wildcat, so that, you know, if it does end up, you know, that he has all those championships and people continue to, I guess, you know, engage me in the conversation, I'm very happy. But
Yeah.
what you also got to, I wasn't a scorer there. You know that, you know, and I used to always say, points get your picture in the paper. You know, that's what my, you know, one of my high school.
That's how I got Tina. That's how I got Tina Arena.
I'm still mad at you. Anyway, points got your picture in the paper. But for me, back in my day, Derek, when I grew up, I used to always want to play with the big guys. And where I'm from, you know, if you win, you stay up. And if you lose, you out. You don't get to play no more. And in the gym I used to go to, you ain't going to get back up for 2 or 3 hours. So I always tried to figure out, what can I do to stay up? What can I do to win? So for me, I used to, you know, I've always been a student of the game. I've always been a student of the game. And for me, it was not as much about me scoring. It was about me playing that was going to make the team and give the team the best chance to stay up. So I became a passer. I became a rebounder. I became a defender. I became a shot blocker. If you look at the Wildcats top 10, I'm in the top 5 in rebounds, in steals, in rebound, in block shots, in steals, because I modeled my game to be all around, to where I felt like, as a student of the game, I wanted to be able to fill in that particular gap that was needed at that particular time. At that particular time. So some games I may needed to not worry about scoring, and Derek Rucker gonna have 35 and 16, and then I'm gonna have 24 and 12, but I'm still gonna win. You know, I'm not gonna go out there and try and make this a man-to-man contest, because, you know, and that for me probably took away from, I guess, you know, me being looked at as even the best player on the Wildcats team. You know, I never won MVP, you know, of the league. Yet I'm number 4 on the all-time best, you know, in NBL history, and that's because we won, and that's because I won.
I mean, what you did is a very tough skill. I mean, I get frustrated watching a lot of the point guards try and do it today, is when to assert yourself and when to decide, you know what, now is go time. And a lot of players, they can't figure it out. You got to be able to figure that out during the course of the game. I got to go now. And, you know, you see guys, especially lead guards, mistiming their run, not putting themselves in the game. And that's why I like Machado a lot. I think Machado has the best feel out of all the point guards playing in the league right now. He knows he can feel that game really well.
Sure. And you're talking about the NBL game, you know, because the NBA game is different than the NBL game. But, you know, so the NBL game definitely, you know, it's the guys, and those point guards still have an opportunity to control the tempo and that of the game. But in NBA, you know, it's the best player, and not many teams' best player is the point guard. It's usually something else. So they play a different style. But, you know, back in my day, you know, it was more traditional roles, but now it's more specialist. And that's why I felt like I really didn't make the NBA, because I wasn't great at anything. I was just really, really good at everything.
And you have a son that plays as well. How's his development coming along?
Man, he's so disappointed. He was fired up and ready to go. Joey Wright in Adelaide had, you know, who is the best development coach in Australia, had worked a season with him, had him firing and ready to go. He was about to come back and dominate in this SBL over here, and then maybe give it a real good shot in NBL. So unfortunately, you know, this COVID thing has put a pause to that, as well as everything. But I'm looking forward to see. He's in Dallas at the moment, but I'm looking forward to see. He was about to hop on a plane before they shut the borders, you know. So and the season was about to start. But Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how he goes. He's a fine young man on and off the court. He's focused on trying to not only get the most out of him, but he wants to work with the suburb south of Perth, which is called Mandurah. He wants to go down there and help them build their program. He wants to help them build the basketball development through coaching and all of that. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens.
Yeah. Wow. Now, you mentioned he was in Dallas, and as you know, my Jason Garrett, the former head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, and I have been friends since we were both 13. And his dad actually coached my dad. So our families have been interlinked for 40 years. And Jason and I have been friends for 40 years. And I used to go to Dallas and when he was head coach and everything. Man, it's hard. It used to be so hard. The number of times I sent DMs to people to people that host sports shows in America saying, you guys need to fucking chill. Like, that's my man. He can get the job done, blah, blah, blah. You get heated, man. Like, it's really hard to deal with when somebody who you care about, you've been close to for a long time, and you know that person is a quality person, you know, and they're trying to give it everything they have, and they're saying he can't deal with black players and he can't do this. It's like, what are you talking about? He used to be over my house all the time. He's very comfortable around black people. What are you talking about? You know what I'm saying? It just.
I do. Yeah. Well, I'm sure he's a great man. I'm sure he's a great person. You can have him.
Now,
I'm sure he's a great guy. I'm a Cowboy through and through. Jason's problem that you didn't bring up is that Jerry Jones, he didn't get to run his show 100% the way he wanted to run it. That's his problem. So,
and what do you do? What do you do about that? And this is because he's making, what was he making last year? I think $5.5 million. He's probably made over 40, 50 million through the Cowboys.
Nothing you can do. And that's the salary from the Cowboys. That's not what he, would have been earning off the field as well, because, down
it's
Texas,
Dallas.
It ain't nothing but Cowboys. They own that whole region, not just Texas, but Arkansas, Louisiana,
Oklahoma,
all of that. Even parts of California. When they go to California, it's half filled with Cowboy fans. So, I mean, he's a great man. This is me talking as a fan, just purely as a heartbroken fan that's been heartbroken for the last 20 years of the Cowboys. And, I say every year I'm not going to let them, get me emotionally attached like I end up getting. But no, I'm sure he'll do a good job with the New York Football Giants.
I'm off the Cowboys. I don't like the Cowboys no more. We ain't down.
Fair enough. We don't want you. If you ain't a diehard, true blue all the way through, we don't want you nowhere.
It is going to be strange. It's going to be strange because he's been there for like 13 years now. He was OC and then he coached for 8 or 9 years. It's going to be strange not looking forward to his games and talking. We talk and it's different now. I got to root for the Giants.
That's you. It's not going to be strange for me. Hopefully, it'll be strange in a way where we win some Super Bowls. So
Mike McCarthy ain't doing nothing. He ain't doing nothing.
I can't say nothing. I can only say, let's just see. Let's just wait and see. He got Super Bowl rings.
What about his old quarterback is mad as hell. They drafted that QB. Rodgers is like, I ain't fucking happy about it.
He's an alpha male. He's an alpha male, and when you wanted the greatest, I got pissed off when the Wildcats brought a guy named Demetrius Caleb in. He
was garbage too.
Yeah, but I got pissed off about that. Don't be bringing in no other point guard in here while I'm here. What you trying to say? So I'm protective of my turf. And that's on my level. So I'm sure Brett protective of his turf. Don't be bringing in no little. That's why Brett Favre was the same way with him.
Yeah.
Brett Favre didn't put no olive branch out to him. He had to sit there and wait and shut up and be good. So I'm sure, this guy probably get the same treatment.
what was one of your, what regrets do you have, like, during your career? Do you have any games or any series where you're like, even though you won 4, you're like, damn, I could have maybe had 5 or 6, or if we would have done this, you know?
That Sydney Grand Final when we lost to Shane.
Ooh, I forgot about that one.
That hurt. That hurt. We were up, you know, double digits past mid fourth quarter. I probably made some uncharacteristic turnovers, you know. I always sort of led the league in turnovers because I took a lot of risks in the first three quarters.
It was me or you for a long time there.
Yeah, but we had the ball 90% of the time.
Yeah.
So come on, you know.
Yeah.
And then I took probably more risks in the first 3 quarters than I would take in the fourth quarter. And you know, I always thought I was clutch, but in that Sydney Grand Final, I wasn't clutch in game 1. You know, fourth quarter, I wasn't clutch. So that still sticks with me. I woke up one middle of the night one time, and on Foxtel, they were showing that damn game. They never show when we win. They just show the highlights when the Sydney and Melbourne teams, Brisbane teams win. They don't show when the Wildcats win, but that's all right. But yeah, so that's probably you know, the big one. And then Rodney Overby sends me the next day he sends me a picture of him holding the trophy.
Rodney is unreal.
I love him. You know, I love Rodney.
Isn't it crazy though, man, how bad it can hurt? I remember in my junior year at Davidson, we're in the Southern Conference tournament final championship game, and I've had a great tournament. I had like 28 and 34 in the lead up to the championship game. We win. We're in March Madness, dude. I went 5 for 19, and we lost in overtime.
Yeah.
And, you know, just that, it's incredible how the pain still stays there 30, 40 years later. And it's like, damn,
Yeah, I mean, you talking about college and losses and disappointments. I mean, I lost national championship game. I mean, we lost to Kansas in the national championship game, a team that we had beaten twice already that year. Mind you, we only beat them by 4 at home and on the road. But, you know, losing a national championship game to a team you'd beaten twice, you know, that's to this day, if I would have, you know, won that game.
Right? A rival.
Kansas, Oklahoma, Kansas. You know, that's the, you know, back then it was the Big 8. You know, now it's the Big 12. But Oklahoma, Kansas, you know, back then were, you know, it was just a huge rival. Danny Manning, #1 pick in the draft. Larry Brown, you know, great Hall of Fame coach. Yeah. That was a bigger disappointment. That was the biggest disappointment of my life. That was the highlight of my life. And then 2 hours later, it was the low light of my life.
How did you deal with those disappointments as a player?
Man, I mean, same way you did with disappointments in life. I mean, you know, just something inside of you just keeps you going. Something inside of you says, you know, one day, one day. And, you know, you just keep going. I mean, I've had all sorts of disappointments on and off the court. And, you know, that's just, you know, Derek, I used to wake up and go, I hope nothing goes wrong today. Now I wake up and go, when something goes wrong today, this is how I'm going to handle it. So I've just accepted shit happens. Shit happens, bro.
And your business, what do you do exactly with your business now, Rick?
Well, I'm the founder and CEO of an organization called Girls Academy. I used to do a lot of volunteer work with John Van Groningen, who was the chaplain of the Southeast Melbourne Magic. This originated 27 years ago. He was the chaplain of the Magic. He approached me about doing some volunteer work in the Aboriginal communities at the end of the year. I used to donate 2 weeks of my time to going out to those Aboriginal communities. Didn't tell anybody, kept it quiet, donated my time. I feel like that was my mission work. You know, I'm a God-fearing man, and that's something that I wanted to do that I felt like was my mission work. So I felt an instant connection with the Aboriginal people. I I studied and got my master's degree while I was playing for the Wildcats. So even you know, I used to go to Wildcats. Then I used to go to Notre Dame University, which started here in Fremantle, Western Australia. It opened up in the mid '90s. So you know, I used to want to finish. When I finished ball, I thought I'd get my master's degree because it's a prerequisite to coach college basketball in the government-owned universities to have a master's degree. So I went and got my master's degree, did all of that, and then I was doing this volunteer work in these Aboriginal communities for 5, 6, 7 years for John Van Groningen. And then he used to call it the ARM Tour, athletes as role models. So I said, John, you know, now that I'm looking into this, there's just as many Aboriginal communities in Western Australia as there is in Northern Territory, where you got me going. I want to do something, you know, like ARM Tour in Western Australia. And then my accountant at the time said, well, don't do it with him, just do it on your own. So so I did it on my own, and then we started Role Models WA. And I used to go out and still do go out to the remote communities because, you know, these are some of the most disadvantaged people in the world, and it's third world conditions right here in Australia that people don't talk about a lot and turn a blind eye to. But for me, these guys said, well, thanks for coming. We know you're going to be just like the other seagulls that fly in, shit on us, and leave. And then I said, well, no. And that has stuck with me for, you know, ever since I started my program. So I still go to those remote communities and still try and do what I can to promote, you know, kids going to school, kids getting a good education. But while I was doing that, Derek, some Aboriginal elders approached me here in Perth about the lack of programs for Aboriginal girls. And I'm raised by a single mom. I got 3 daughters. And to me, when I went to this school and saw the boys with pool tables, kitchen, bacon and eggs, and the girls sitting out on the grass, it pissed me off, you know. So, you know, because I'm thinking, gee, what do the girls have? They got nothing. I mean, they were literally sitting on the grass. So I'm not one of them dudes that sit around and talk about it and bitch and moan. Well, then I said, look, I'm gonna do something about this. I'm gonna try and use my profile to increase the awareness for the needed programs for these girls. And you know, having a master's degree in education, this ain't gonna be about sport. This gonna be about coming to school. This gonna be about making good grades. This gonna be about graduating and then getting a good job. So, you know, for the last 16 years, that's what I've been doing. It's called Girls Academy. We got just under 3,000 girls in the program. We have over 150. We have just under 150 full-time staff. We're in 46 schools across Australia. We're in the Northern Territory, Queensland, New South Wales, and WA. 74% of our staff are Aboriginal women. We build the capacity of the girls. We build the capacity of our staff. And it's a community-led. This is not Ricky Grace-led. This is a community-led program. And it's one that's the leading provider in this space in Australia. So I've always been a uniting leader. I've always felt like, you know, yes, you know, black, white, blue, green, purple, we all have differences, but we also have common denominators too. So what I've always tried to do was find what that common denomination is, bring people together, and let's work together for common good for everybody. So I'm really proud of the organization and the way we've gone about it.
Wow. That's great, man. That's great. Well, you've always been a great leader, and man, it's been so good seeing you again and having this chance to touch base. And let's do it again sometime when we can put it together and we got some real life sports to talk about.
Yeah, man. And I just want to congratulate you, man, you know, for, you know, doing this, for what an amazing show, man. I could have sat there and listened to Cal for another, you know, 2-3 hours, and D-Mac as well. You should have just had us on once, man. This part 1, you got to have part 2 and 3 coming up, because, you know, and you know, I didn't get to talk about you and the amazing impact that you've had, and the great career that you had, and you sitting here being humble and blowing me up, but, you know, you and the career and everything that you brought to this sport, man, you should be applauded and congratulated and appreciated more than you are. So well done for what you're doing and for trying to provide people with some entertainment and some insight into, what really is going on.
That's well said, man. All right. Well, be safe over there. I'll be keeping an eye on your son to see what he's got. Tell him to stay ready. Got to stay ready, baby. Got to stay ready.
Will do.
All right, Rick. See you later, man.
All right. Thanks for having me, D. Good luck, bro.
No problem. Be good. Bye.